Good afternoon, residents of Orpington and beyond. Welcome to OBC Midweek News. I'm Phil here, I'm the youth pastor, and I'm with my friend and boss Martin. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. Welcome to Orpington Baptist Church, and it's great to share with you just now. And we're really pleased to welcome as well one of our deacons, one of our trustees, Caroline Percy. And Caroline has been such a great help, leading the way, really. I joke that she's our guru. I don't know if she really likes that title, but our guru on all things coronavirus. And such a lot of work has gone on, and Caroline has led it for us in terms of keeping to all the rules and regulations. Caroline,
which has
welcome.
been straightforward, isn't it, Caroline? Because the rules and regulations, they very rarely change. They've been the same ever since day one. And
yeah. Unfortunately, if only. And they change with very little warning sometimes too. It's sort of,
and not only from the government as well, Caroline, isn't that right?
It's so quite recently there was an unexpected change where they changed the rules so that it means that life groups can't meet at the moment, so the Baptist Union interpret what the government rules are, so that then they send out. So I read the government stuff and the Baptist Union stuff, and they've obviously got an inside track somewhere, and they still haven't got sort of clarification, but for now the government's changed their mind, and allowed.
I know that
we don't get much notice of
that. No, and I know that you keep a careful eye on the stats as well, and particularly for the borough of Bromley. Bring us up to date. What's the latest kind of news of infections and sadly of deaths as well in our own area?
Yeah, in our own area, it's been really good news the last couple of months, but certainly the last month. We've been about on the level. It's been going up a few, down a few each day in terms of levels of infection. So we're back at levels we were sort of around late summer, beginning of September last year. And I heard the government statistics for the nation at lunchtime, and we are actually back down to the lowest number of deaths that we were at last summer. So any death is too many, but the statistics are really coming down, and it's a combination of people sticking to the rules and the whole sort of lockdown, but also the vaccination program is having a huge impact, particularly on hospital admissions for the older generation. If they are getting it, they're getting less ill, and that leads to then less admissions and less deaths. So it's a sort of a two-pronged front of people obeying the rules, and the vaccinations are really helping us towards normality.
That's great.
It's a little progress yet though to get there.
Yes.
We obviously came back for a couple of months last year, and we're hoping that this time we come back, we're going to be here to stay. We've got our call committee, our coming out of lockdown committee. Can you just sort of explain to people some of the things we've had to try and navigate through in order to try and get to a place where we are coming back? Because legally people may think we're allowed to open, we're allowed to do A, B and C, but actually it's not been that simple, has it?
No, it's not quite that simple. So the government sort of, when they make these announcements, make big headlines of the top rules, and a couple of days later they might update their website with the details. But we're a Baptist church, and we have to follow Baptist Union rules. And they have some amazing guys behind the scenes there who interpret the government, and they obviously have contact with the government sort of to get true definitions and ruling. And sometimes they are more cautious than the government's rulings. So we have to follow theirs because that's who our insurance comes through. And they are very specific in terms of things like cleaning, in terms of layout, and all of the rules like masks and hand gel and all of that. They are very prescriptive, and so we had to. It took us quite a long time to sort of put in place everything to make sure that we were fully complying with everything they wanted us to, just because we want to be as safe as possible for everybody to come back and to use our buildings. And so, it's sometimes it feels a little bit nitpicking, and I know Martin sometimes calls me the big bad wolf because I have to give bad news and say, yeah, no, sorry, we can't do that today or not next week. It's sort of like, not at the moment, which is just, and sometimes they don't always feel logical either, but they're the rules, and we do our best to sort of interpret them and make them work for ABC.
I've been really grateful to you, Caroline, for all of that, and your leadership there. But also on a personal basis, you've often advised me about where I should visit and who I can visit and this kind of thing, and that's been really helpful too. So on the basis of the statistics, really, and the continuing government advice and the Baptist Union advice, we've decided that it's time and it's right to open up the church again for worship from the 18th of April, haven't we?
Yes, we have. For most people, it will feel like a similar system to the last time.
Yes.
So we have to get people to book their places because there are a limited number of seats. And that booking opens from after our service on a Sunday morning. So you can phone the office, you can email the office, or use the church WhatsApp group. Just bear in mind that Pam and Joe in the office aren't in until Monday morning. So, but what they do is they time all of their people going, please book me, please book me, so that they can keep track of all the numbers and make sure that the seats are allocated fairly. And we need to, the children and youth groups will start up again as well on Sunday. And so if people are booking in children, they'll need to let the office know if their school year, basically, so that we know which children's group they're going to go in, so that David and Phil will be able to plan ahead, because we're limited to 15 in those groups as well. And so, it is sort of important for now that we know the numbers. And then the booking closes at lunchtime on Friday, because Pam's usually in on a Friday, and then she has to prepare a sheet for the deacons who'll be on the door on the Sunday that have to tick everybody coming in, because we have to know the names of everyone coming in. But also what it then does is it creates a list that Phil and possibly Michael can create a seating within the sanctuary that will do it in household groups. So where there might be a family of 4, there'll be blocks of 4 seats. If there's only one person, there'll be individual seats. And by knowing, because that we can group seats together, it does mean that we can get more people in than if it was all individually spaced at a distance. But all our seats will be having the 1 meter plus rule, to make sure that you won't be sitting close to anyone, because we're still not allowed to mix indoors at the moment. And then when people arrive, we ask if there's a bit of a queue, that they keep the distance as they're coming in the door, because they do have to go through some checks with the deacons on the door. We ask them to use the hand gel, and we will be checking. So, for example, it might be that they booked a family of 4, but actually only 3 of them have come for whatever reason. So we always have to make a note of those numbers that we have in church. So that just takes a couple of minutes, everything just takes a little bit of time. And then as they come into church, they'll be passed from the deacons onto the stewards, and the stewards will find the appropriate seating group for them. And we hope to get most people within the sanctuary or the link room on the side. But once they're seated, they are asked to remain in their seats. There will be a toilet open should they need a toilet, but ideally everybody just stays in their seats. And it's so tempting because you see people you haven't seen in person for ages and you just want to say hello, but we just ask people just to resist the temptation. It's sort of just to the and then it's a reverse process on the way out. That we will be asking people to leave the church quickly, not allowing distance, don't sort of, and I know everybody will want to chat, but there will be the deacons and stewards trying to usher people out. And so please don't get cross. It really is just to sort of, to keep the flow of people moving.
It's safer to talk in the car park, isn't it?
It is. Well, now we're 6 people are allowed out to gather outside. We can have little huddles of 6 or two households in the car park, and it's sort of like. But indoors is more dangerous in terms of the ventilation. So one of the other aspects that we've had to look at, and Theo did a marvelous job in the autumn about adjusting our heating, so that it just only it intakes air from the outside, so it's not recycling air and it blows it through. We will have windows and doors open. So if we get an icy blast like we've had in this last week, come wearing, heavy duty coat, because I'm afraid could be a bit chilly if you're in the draft. But actually that airflow is, if you can feel a slight draft, that means that we've got the ventilation right. It's another aspect of keeping you safe. We will ask everyone to wear a mask. And again, this whole ventilation thing, it means we won't be able to sing. I think one of the most frequent questions I get asked is, when will we be allowed to sing?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I keep asking that because I actually can't sing. But it's nothing to do with coronavirus. I just can't sing. When will I be able to? And I think the answer is when I get to heaven.
That miracle, Phil.
Thankfully, the worship group are allowed to sing, and yes. They do a fantastic job for us, singing for us. But I found that you can sing in your head quite well, and that's a really good thing to do, to sing and make melody to the Lord in your heart.
And for some people that, mostly we say remain seated, but, for some people, they can stand, they can wave their hands, they can clap.
Yes.
So, if they're being moved, there are things they can do, but they're just not allowed to sing.
Yes.
Which, and for some people, that may mean they choose not to come back for a little while until we're allowed to. But the government have actually got a whole page on singing and the dangers of singing. You would never realise that was a dangerous activity. But currently, unfortunately, with coronavirus, it is. And they will allow a limited amount of singing. And the worship group do have the door wide open, so they have got a lot of air blasting past them, so it's sort of to carry anything outside.
That's important, isn't it? Because Martin, that if you don't feel safe enough to come yet, we are still broadcasting, and that's just been such a blessing for us, isn't it?
Yes.
As people are watching us now, whether it's today or on Sunday before the service, we've got a fantastic setup to be able to bring church to you at home.
Yes.
And the benefit of that is you can sing at home with no problem at all. But people do want to be back in the church building. When we've had services, people coming in for the services to take part in, whether they're doing a talk or prayers or whatever, they have really enjoyed being back in the church. And that's a very hard atmosphere to replicate in your own home. But the blessing is, if you don't feel comfortable coming back, we are going to be broadcasting, and that's a permanent thing as well, isn't
Yes.
it? That's to stay.
Yes, that's great, isn't it? It really is.
And I think we have to recognise that, you know, there's a huge number of the population that have had at least one vaccination, but there's a big percentage that haven't yet had that opportunity. And there will be some, if they're pregnant or through health issues, can't have the vaccination. So we have to be responsible for everyone,
Yes.
you know, whether they've had a vaccination or not. And just do our best.
So it's really good to reassure people that we've, you know, we're taking every precaution that is necessary to keep people safe here in the building. We hope that to have up to 100 in the church on the 18th of April, and then Sundays after that as well. But that is an absolute maximum, isn't it? 100.
It is. It's an absolute maximum. And
I know we've kind of pushed you on this before, Caroline, but Phil and I. But
I've learned to start low to negotiate up, Martin.
but that's the line in the sand, isn't
But we cannot cross that.
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That does sort of it is that line, and it's like within the building, the core committee had a walkthrough and worked out the limit. Some rooms are smaller than others, and you know, just because they're smaller, it means that even if it's a children's group that could meet, they might not be allowed to have 15 in there because it wouldn't take the 15. So you know, we've sort of had to review so many things within within the OBC building in terms of bringing sort of like the all the groups back, or who are allowed to come back, and the cleaning processes and things like that.
But just to be really positive, we are really looking forward to having, you know, up to 100 people back in the church worshipping the Lord and being together. And I think it's going to be a great Sunday on the 18th of April, and then Sundays after that as well. We're really planning for it to be a wonderful time together. So if you feel able to, please book from this Sunday afternoon. Book early to avoid disappointment, because there will come a limit when we reach our limit, as it were, when we may have to say during the week, that's it, I'm afraid. We've booked as many as we can, but know what Phil has just said, that OBC at home will always continue, and we you know, whether you're at home or whether you're in the building, we want to emphasize that we are one church, and whether, you know, you're physically here or not, we can be one church worshipping the Lord together. So let's stay united in that way.
Amen.
And Caroline, what about other groups? Because we've talked a lot to other groups, and many perhaps wouldn't be ready to come back yet anyway, and perhaps not until the autumn. But what about other groups just now?
Well, currently, children and youth groups are allowed, with quite a few limitations in terms of numbers and things they can be doing, like singing and shouting isn't allowed, even with those. So it's sort of like, you know, that can be quite tough.
It's a blessing for me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Trying to tell young people not to shout is a real challenge, I must say.
I know. And the older ones will be wearing, the older sort of like above 11 will be needing to wear masks now. Very much like what they are probably used to at school currently. And we will try to be doing as much social distancing with them, you know, and just working out even sort of equipment that they use gets cleaned between people, or use and things like that. You know, there'll be no food and drink. You know, if they really need to, they can bring their own drinking bottle of water or something, but just so they're not taking their masks off and touching their faces. and that. So, but it will be a little bit different. But you know, the fact that we can still welcome some of them back will be good.
There are quite a few things that still won't be allowed, even though worship will be allowed, and we'll be doing that in the building. So, for instance, life groups that might meet in the building. As a couple have done, aren't yet allowed, are they?
No, well, originally when the government published their roadmap, they were going to be, and we had guidelines last autumn for all the things that life groups needed to put in place, and for those that wanted to meet in church. So we would, you know, if we get the go ahead, we'll let people know, because we are ready to put things in place for them. But sadly, the government did a U-turn. And Baptist Junior are actually a little bit frustrated at the moment because they don't quite know why. But it also means that we couldn't have the church meeting in person, which we were hoping. As yet, you know, the church could be open for private prayer if somebody wanted to come in. We have a prayer room, or the church, if somebody wanted to ring up the office and say, can I, you know, come in for an hour or so. But if people were meeting as a prayer meeting, it's not allowed at the moment. So it's, a little bit frustrating.
Do you know, one of the things that's brought such joy to my heart is that people have been tuning in to watch our services from, you know, sometimes all around the world, and sometimes from different towns around the country, including your sister-in-law, actually, from Ripon in Yorkshire, and just messaging in just now as a pastor in Romania, Peter Wrong. Peter, if you're still watching us, greetings to you, and I'm so glad that you've been watching this broadcast and will watch our worship as well, and may you be blessed in your ministry there in Bucharest.
What a great example.
You know, that's just great, isn't it?
And it's, you know, it's going to be wonderful to be open up and welcome people in, because that's what the church is about.
Absolutely.
But you know, to be able to still have our online presence and welcome people in online is such an important part of where we're going to be going forward, I think.
Caroline, thank you so much for all that you continue to do in this whole area, and bless you, and thank you for being the big bad wolf sometimes.
Any further questions about it, just all go to Caroline Percy, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. I love you too.
We'll see you soon, Caroline.
Thank you,
okay,
Caroline.
thanks.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, that's really good. That's really good, Phil, isn't it? And hey, you know, I had a call from somebody yesterday morning from Gillingham, saying could she join the prayer course, because she'd been watching all our services online since lockdown.
That's so exciting.
And people from all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just great.
It is. It's brilliant. And that starts tonight, doesn't it? Our
prayer course
Mark
2
II.
tonight, which is quite...
Hey, it starts in about 5-6 hours' time, so it's not too late.
Yeah.
If you're watching now, if you want us to be part of our prayer course.
We've got 45 booked in already, but there's still plenty of room.
Hey, that's the joy of online stuff. We can have as many as you want.
Yes.
So come along.
No social distancing online.
And it's a really relevant course. The prayer course, first press course, was just mind-blowingly good. Sort of dissecting the Lord's Prayer with Pete Gregg, and this time around he's decided to talk about unanswered prayer based on his book God on Mute.
I like dropping names. I tweeted about it this morning, and
did
Pete
you?
Gregg
Did he
liked
like it?
Yeah.
Look at you and your BFF.
There we are.
Yeah, so that's going to be brilliant. And this Sunday sees our last online-only service, which will be great. Continuing with this short series of This Changes Everything, Martin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Really excited about that.
Walk to Emmaus this Sunday, which is lovely, and our worship team, who continue to do a fantastic job for us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, worship team.
Absolutely, they are phenomenal.
They really are.
Absolutely brilliant. Every single one of you are just, wow, you're brilliant. And actually, when I came into church just now, Dan, our worship leader, and Catherine, our youngest person of our worship group, probably, were singing a song, Waiting Here for You. And I mentioned that because on Sunday we're going to release a little promo video, which will feature that song with Catherine singing, all about us coming back to church, and different ways you can engage with us. So do keep a listen out for that. It's going to be a fantastic video. And thanks to John, actually, who's not here at the moment, but still very much part of this church, who's putting it together. That's going to be a great video. Yeah,
really looking forward to seeing that in its completion. And can we say about the Alpha course, Phil? I know we're only starting the prayer course too tonight, so we've got to do that first. But then following that, we're going to start a new Alpha course.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't remember the date. 13th of May rings a bell.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Thursday in May, we're going to start this Alpha course. It's the film series of the Alpha course, so it's great. We're going to be with two people from HTB who venture around the world, especially Jerusalem in its parts, to show us different sites of where Jesus was. But actually, the course, is so good. I've got permission from my wife to say that she's been a Christian for 36 years and hadn't been on an Alpha course. She came to one last year, and it blew her away as to how good it was.
Yes.
So it does not matter. I think there's a perception that Alpha is about if you don't know. And whilst that is true, and you've got burning questions in your heart, you may think you know, and you may have a faith rooted as deep as anything, but you will get something from this Alpha course, because we get to listen to one another, to share, to ask and answer questions without any fear of sounding silly. So I encourage all of us, if you are or been to Alpha courses, to bring someone along. And if you're watching and you haven't been to an Alpha course, and you don't know anyone and you're just tuning into OBC, get in touch. Yes. It's the best way to do it, because you can just join in on Zoom. We don't even need to see your face. If you're too worried about it, turn your camera off.
Yes.
But just listen to what they have to say, and ask some of life's burning questions that you may have, and they will be answered on this fantastic course. And it runs for about 10, 12 weeks, but it covers so much.
Yeah.
And it's
really
just
good.
Brilliant course.
Yeah, do just be in touch with one of us, and let us know you'd like to come. And one of the other things too about it is that if you want to invite a friend who lives in Doncaster or in Australia or wherever, you can, because they can also meet online. I guess they'd be in the middle of the night in Australia, but they might not
It'll
enjoy
be like
that
7 a.m. in the morning. Just what you want.
But you know what I mean? People can join from all over the place, because we're not really talking about sort of wanting to get people into the church. No. We just want to help people discover more of God's love, and
absolutely,
and for them to ask those questions that all of us have, and to be free to discuss them. So just use this Alpha course that we have coming up.
Yeah, maybe this year has given you questions that you need answers for.
Yeah,
maybe this last year you're feeling a bit doubtful about everything that's going on. Maybe coronavirus itself has brought you questions that you've never had before. I really encourage you to come to Alpha, because I think those questions can be answered.
Yeah.
And we just want to get to know more people as well. You know, what the last year has taught us is that we are a church without borders. We're a church without walls.
Yeah.
And we just want to bless everyone in as many ways we can.
Thank you, Phil. And just what we always say, we want to say again, whatever age you are, whatever background you have, whether you're part of this church or not, we want to be here for you. We want to serve you. We want to help you in any way we can. So always be free to be in touch with us in some way, and we'll certainly respond.
Amen. See you soon, guys.
God bless you. Bye-bye.